If things are slow for you on eBay in the summer, change what you're selling and change how you're selling it. We did, and we had our best month ever on the platform. Can't wait to show you what's sold. Let's take a look right now. Late summer is a time when eBay is usually slower than normal because people are outdoors. They are doing summer things. They're getting ready for back to school. They are distracted with other things. But if you have something unusual or unique, you will still do well. And this first item is a good example of that. This is the Metlocks Carl Romanelli designed Zodiac vase. This is one of 12 that he did in the 1930s and 40s. He owned the patent to this design. I'll show you on the bottom where it says, right there in the lower left corner, that it is patented. There you go. Design patent applied for. Carl Romanelli actually had a pretty good gig with Metlocks because he owned the patents. He patented 25 of the lines he did with them, and he held the patent, not Metlocks. And the reason for that was that he was a seventh generation sculptor from a family in Italy, and so they even have a museum in Florence dedicated to their family. So he had the chops and they knew it, so they let him do what he wanted to do. This is the backside. You have the Virgo symbol, and there's planet Earth. It's really, really fun. I just thought it was a great design. And I've never seen this piece except in the book, and I happened to go into an antique store in Ohio and found two of these. The other one was Sagittarius. I sold that one at the show for about the same price that we got on eBay, but I got a little bit more on eBay than I did at the show. And I think that's because more people saw it. And so it went for $177.50 on 13 bids. And that was just fantastic. I paid a fraction of that price. So that was a really wonderful, lucky deal for me. And something fun to get to show all of you. So now when you see it out there, especially because it says Poppy Trail, not Metlocks. So a lot of people don't realize that was their trade name, and that's what you need to be looking for. So now you know. Next piece, this went to the same collector actually, and this is Leah Stein from Paris. There's the signature for Leah Stein. There's the backside. And there's a lot of discussion over how you can tell the age because Leah Stein was made in the 70s in France and then was made again starting in the 90s because the New York jeweler bought all the stuff that was left at the end of the 70s, started selling it in New York, and people were like, hey, we want more of this. So Leah Stein got to go back into business. She and her husband had come up with this crazy way of laminating plastics with various other materials in them, particularly textiles, because that's how she got her start, was in the Parisian textile industry. And they just made the neatest things. The fox is such a great shape. I actually had 3 Leah Stein pins, and 2 of them went to live with Mike from Well Swung, and the third one went to this collector. So very happy about the Leah Stein. I think it's great stuff, and a lot of people really enjoy it. This went to a viewer out in Washington. I'm going to deliver it to her at the Spokane Antique Show, and I can't wait for her to see it. It is the cutest little Robert Held frog. Robert Held was a very well-known Vancouver Island, Canada glassblower until he retired a couple of years ago and shut down his studio. The frog is one of his miniatures. I didn't realize he had made miniatures, but just look at that face and those eyes, and of course the iridescent glaze, which he was really known for that finish. I say glaze, it's really more of a metal oxide that you spray on. That's how you get carnival glass while it's cooling down. You spray the metallic oxide on, and that's why you don't ever want to use Windex or a heavy scrub on these things, because carnival glass, you can take the coloring off if you're not careful. Very cute piece. 10 bids went for $37, and I just thought that was the cutest thing. I've never owned a piece of his before. I happened to find one piece I could afford at a mall in Canada, and this is it. So now it's going to hop back to the Northwest. These went for $50 on 2 bids, and they went all the way to Anchorage, Alaska, and that was a big old long shipping, but I had a good container for it, and they got there just fine. I stood them upright rather than wrapping them on their sides. I find that the vibration in the box, if you can keep things upright, even plates, if you stand them on edge, are definitely better than putting them in a stack this way, because the pressure, it's laws of physics that I don't personally understand, but the things that we're sending, they understand and they behave accordingly. I like these because they were bicolor. It's funny because I had never seen anything by Bormioli, but they're one of the largest glass makers in the entire world. And after I showed these, a bunch of people I knew, other YouTube viewers, were like, oh, I love those. I have a set. So I will keep looking for these. This was really nice. It went to a viewer who I got to meet at the Springfield Antique Show, and I was so pleased. When I did the original video on this, I thought, well, this is probably going to be somebody who worked for Philco or is a collector, or maybe has a predicted television. Well, sure enough, the fellow who bought this used to be a Philco service person, and that is the reason that they were attracted to this. So it went to exactly the right collector, and I was really pleased with that. It went for $52 on 4 bids. Now, again, it's summertime. I didn't make a ton of money on some of these pieces because, like this one, I priced just about where I paid for it. You have to take that chance when you're selling on eBay auctions, especially during a slower time of year, because you will be rewarded in some cases, and other things you might just get your money back and a little bit more. And that's okay, because then the next thing, well, I doubled my money on this. This is Christofle, and these are the little piccolo birds. The set of knife rests in the original box. I just think Christofle is great stuff. I'm not usually a silver plate person, but that's what they're known for and have been known for since the 1830s and 40s, when they bought various patents and started perfecting silver plate. And that's the reason they're so well known for it now. Very good French company, $113.50 on 5 bids for this set. This was another piece I bought up in Canada, and if you look on the back, it's funny, the back did not have nearly this level of tarnish, and somehow it looks like it really did. But what it does have is this hard to read number here that was an 800, which told us that this was coined silver. And the woman in the shroud is a very popular design. She actually looks better in person than she does here. This is so enlarged beyond the original size that it looks a little grainy. But she's just beautiful. She went for $61 on 5 bids. And I usually get between 50 and 100 somewhere for these whenever I get them, so that definitely was in the range. This went for $20 on just 1 bid, but the right person saw it. I bought this in Madison Bookville in New York, and I figured that it would sell to somebody who understood what Hycroft Pottery is. Hycroft was one of the Medicine Hat, Alberta companies. It was the last one to remain in business, and they had good business up until the 1980s, when foreign competition finally drove them out. And you don't see a lot with the Hycroft label. I thought it was funny. I got this in New York when I had just been shopping in Canada and didn't see a single piece. And I thought, well, I know people in Canada are aware of this. And this actually went to an American viewer, but it was somebody who was out on the West Coast where there was distribution into the States of Hycroft pottery. Just loved the steer head. Thought that was really cute. And $20, well, I basically doubled my money. And this was something I bought specifically to put online, partly because I wanted to show everybody what Hycroft was, and partly because I figured that it was obscure enough that it needed an online buyer. It wasn't something that people would necessarily be looking for in a store or a show. And that turned out to be the case. And then, next, LA Rams. This was for the first season after they won the NFC Championship for the first time. This was their first year at Anaheim Stadium. This got 13 bids because the Rams are back in Los Angeles. There's interest in football there again, and it is the beginning of football season. And for all those reasons, I thought this is the time to put this out. And it sold for $41 on 13 bids. I was pleased to see that people were interested in this again. A few years ago, I tried to sell some things from the 1979 Rams season before they had moved back to Los Angeles, and people in St. Louis, where the Rams had moved, were not interested because it was Los Angeles, and people in LA were not interested because the Rams had moved to St. Louis. Well, now they're back in LA, and everything is turned around again. So this went to a Rams fan, and just in time for them to wave in front of the television this season. This was a surprising find. This came from somebody who got it in the bins at Goodwill, and how she spotted it in the bottom of a bin is amazing to me. It's a little rough for wear, but these were Marlin guns, and they gave these away as a promotion for the Tom Mix show on the radio. Tom Mix used Marlin guns, after all, and he was a famous cowboy, and so of course, a lot of people ordered these back in the 1930s and early 40s, and they were sent to children. Well, in the 1950s, Marlin reissued these and gave them out at NRA events. They are adjustable, and so I guess you could get this on an adult pinky finger, maybe. People were smaller back then, too. But I thought it was really cool that it survived the bins, didn't get lost, didn't get completely destroyed, and that somebody understood what it was and was interested in it. I want to thank all of the purchasers for the purchases they made. We have more to show you, but I also wanted to take just a brief minute and thank our level 2 and level 3 members, because their extra contributions are what make this What Sold video possible, and that's why they get to have the member chat when we premiere these videos when they come out. Thank you so much for the additional support, because between the eBay listing video and this video, it really takes an entire day for me to put all of this together for all of you to share this information. So I'm very grateful to you for making that possible. Next up, we have the Herend bud vase. Now, this didn't sell for a lot more than I paid for it, but again, when it's summer, one of the reasons I do eBay auctions is the fact that I know it's going to sell. A lot of people talked about, oh, eBay is so slow. A lot of people rely strictly on fixed price listings. And if it's summertime and not as many people are out there looking, well, you have a couple of choices. You let it ride and you wait until people are back in front of the computer, or you do something to promote the item, whether you're paying eBay a promotional fee, or in my case, promoting it through the videos and by putting it online at auction where everybody knows there is a chance that they are going to get a bargain. And in this case, they got a pretty good bargain. It only sold for a little more than I paid for it. It's a very pretty hand-painted bud vase. Herend is great stuff. You can see the extra flowers on the back. That's a nod to Royal Vienna and Dresden designs of yore. Herend is made in Hungary. There's the mark, and we just didn't get a lot of this in this country during the time of the Iron Curtain. In fact, really, we didn't get much during the 20th century at all until the end of the 20th century, because before being behind the Iron Curtain, they were part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and caught up in the First and Second World War, and we just didn't do a lot of trading with Hungary at that time. Hungary actually makes a lot of nice porcelains and other ceramics. And so now there's a real interest in this because it is a premium quality brand, and you can see that a little bit in the way that this is all hand painted in the detail that you can see there. Not a transferware. This is all brush strokes. So very pretty piece, very well made, and somebody got a very nice price on it. These also didn't sell for a whole lot more than I paid for them, but I was just so glad to tell the story of the miracle on ice and the 1980 Olympics, because it really was the last Olympic Games held in the United States that were not big, huge corporate sponsored affairs. This was in the old days when the Olympics was handled in a little different way than it is now. And so you would see items like this being sold because they were a premium item, rather than just things like McDonald's pins and that sort of thing that we see a lot of from the Olympics now. These were made by Vista Alegre. That was a very good company, and still is a very good company in Portugal. I saw their showcase store in Mexico City recently. Very high-end stuff. And Ronnie the Raccoon is our character on here. There are definitely a lot of collectibles of Olympic items, and I think if I had gotten this on and it was a Summer Olympics item, I would have done better, because we had just come out of the Summer Olympics. Probably should have held this one for winter, but I was so excited to find it, I just didn't care. And somebody paid $21.50 on 3 bids. This, on the other hand, went for way more than I expected. And again, this is why you have to try, even in the slow months on eBay, try different things, try different types of merchandise, try doing an auction instead of a fixed price bid to get attraction and interest in your site. Make buy it nows available, take best offers, send offers to people. There's lots of things you can do. Listing and forgetting something on eBay is the worst thing you can do for it. You have to keep interest and excitement going and make it seem like something is happening, just like you do in real world shows and antique malls with displays and all of that. The more you work it, the better you'll do. And this was a great example, although it kind of worked it itself. I knew this was a fun piece. I was very tempted to keep it. Now I'm glad I didn't, because I paid a certain price for it. I was willing to pay and thought, if it doesn't sell, I'll keep it. But I certainly would not have known that it would go for $157.50 on 10 bids. And it's because it's an unusual form, as well as the fact that it's the palm tree, and that goes with tiki bars and Polynesian restaurants of the 1960s and all of that. This piece was made by Syracuse China. You do not see their mark on it because of the shape. There wasn't a flat surface for them to do their decal on, so they just didn't mark this piece. But it is Syracuse, it is airbrushed, it is palm trees, and it's a compote, and all of that makes it unusual. And a whole bunch of people realized that, and so it bid up very nicely, and that was a pleasant surprise. Some things in the slow season you're going to make a little bit of money on. Some things you have the potential to make a bunch of money on, and you just have to keep out there and keep working it, and it will come to you. This piece went for $45 on one bid, and I was pleased because, if you see here, there is a scratch. Now, this scratch, by the time I sent it to them, was less visible because I took time to actually soak this piece in a little bit of bleach, because I figured that scratch went through the glaze enough for there to be a little bit of discoloration, and that might be something that I can lighten up so that it looks better for the person when they got it. And so it actually looked better when they received it than when I did the listing. But I wanted to do the listing where the scratch was evident, because I always like to represent things as they are. The reason it went for $45 buy it now is because somebody saw it, said, hey, that's a good price for that piece. I don't mind a little scratch. And then when they got it, it was actually a little better than they thought it was, and that makes everybody happy. There's the Villeroy Boch sign on the back. I've just always liked this very hand-drawn looking blue. There's various patterns that they did starting in the 1700s, and they are still popular today, and I thought the fish was just great. Very realistic looking. It's a nice size for lox and bagels. This piece sold for $69. That was the buy it now price. It is Royal Doulton. It was made for Gump's. Gump's is a good department store, still there in San Francisco to this day. They've reopened. However, the big attraction, I think, is that it was sterling, and you see that mark right there on the rim. And then take a look at how big this piece is, and you've got to figure that you probably have 2.5 or 3 ounces of sterling. Now at 2.5 ounces, which is how I figured it at the time, the price they paid, well, they basically got the sterling, and basically the plate came free. By the time they got the plate, the price of sterling had shot up. So if they were speculating on sterling, they got a pretty good deal, because between the time I bought it and the time they bought it, the price of sterling went up quite a bit. And I did not capture every cent of that in my listing price. So I think somebody got a good price on it, and I was happy because it went to a good home, and I got a good price relative to what I paid. And that's one fun thing with sterling and gold and intrinsic valued items like that. There's no guarantee those will keep going up, but you might luck out, and actually a piece you buy just because it's attractive may end up actually also being an investment for you. This piece went for $29 on one bid, and I was so pleased. I got this in Vancouver at the flea market. I bought a couple of other pieces in New York to go with from a collector of Torquay pottery. I just really like the mottos, save yourself pains by taking pains. In other words, if you are slow and deliberate and do things right up front, you won't have to do them again later. And that was part of the fun of mottoware, is it had all sorts of pithy sayings, happy sayings, affirmations. People love affirmations now, and you can have it on your nice little ceramic pieces instead of having a giant fake white sign with black lettering that came from China to tell you these things. Faience glaze is a derivative from Italian ceramics, and a fairly famous Italian designer was one of the people who came to work for Allervale. This is an Allervale piece, and this particular one I thought was so unusual because look at the handle and the way it goes through the hole. It's just a really interesting design feature. And so all in all, this was a cute piece and a good example. And it went to one of our viewers, and I was so delighted she got it. She paid $29 and got it at the buy it now price. This also went to a viewer, and it flew all the way to California, and that made me very happy. This is Blue Mountain Pottery. I have had several pieces of theirs in the past. You'll notice here it does have the BMP mark on it. Not every piece is marked. I just sold one of their seated deer, and again, it's another piece that's got a lot of curvature, and they did not know exactly how to mark it, so it was unmarked. They did use paper labels on some pieces too, but a lot of those have been washed away. This piece I just thought was so well designed, and the fact that they were so precise with the way they glazed it. Usually the green splash was pretty much a random all over kind of coloration, but this one they really made a point to make the head dark and make just the eye the green splash, and then the body and the tail have the green splash, so it really had a lot of dimension to it. I thought this was one of their more successful pieces actually when I saw it, and I was very happy to send it off to its new owner, who lives with a wonderful view of the marina in Southern California, and fish are perfect for them. So very nice. At the same flea market I got that in Canada, I also got these, the Miss Priss shakers. Funnily enough, I've never owned anything Miss Priss before. It's really cute. It's really well painted. Lefton was competing with American potteries, and so it had to be shipped all the way from China, so they used a very, very lightweight, talc-rich type of formulation for their clay, and because of that, it tends towards chipping, and I have had a hard time finding pieces that weren't damaged. These were thrown randomly in a box. How they didn't get damaged, I don't know. They were in a pile with a bunch of other salt and pepper shakers, and there they were, and I immediately recognized that they were better than your average $5 salt and pepper shaker, and I bought them and put them out, and they were practically the first thing that sold. They went buy it now to somebody who has been wanting a pair for a long time, and they sold at the prevailing price of $35. This piece went for $49, buy it now on one bid, also to a viewer. A lot of the buy it nows where you see one bid are viewers who see this because the level 2 and 3 members do get early access to this video when the eBay listing videos come out, as a reward for the fact that they help support us with their contributions that make it possible to do these extra things. So thank you again, level 2 and 3 viewers, and one of them picked up on this right away. This is Gozo. They are still in business in Malta. They use a silver nitrate to get these colors in glass. It's just beautiful. This is an earlier piece. They only started in the 1990s as competitors to the Mabina company, which has been in Malta since the 1960s. Malta may seem like a strange place to make glass, but even though they have to bring the cullet in from Venice, meaning whatever is left over from the Venetian factories is the base for the glass made in Malta. It's an island. It attracts a lot of expats, particularly English, because it used to be an English colony, and they seem to bring a lot of interesting glassblowing talent with them. Gozo formed as a company in order to help glassblowers on Malta learn the craft and have access to the works and be able to do these things. So it's a really sweet little piece. It went to the same person who got the Robert Held frog, and I will be giving both of them to her when I see her at the Spokane Custer's Antique Show, which is the first weekend of October, the Piece de Resistance. Yes, the Dali prints sold. And since eBay doesn't tell you what the best offer is, I'm going to tell you straight out. We took $4,500. This went to someone who was a repeat buyer from us, who has bought very good, rather costly books from us in the past and seems to really know paper and books and that sort of thing. And I was so pleased that she saw the value in these. And $4,500 we felt was a fair offer. I saw listings for $7,000 for this series with the original folio, the cover and everything. I saw a listing for $9,000. I did not see any that had sold recently. The reason that I felt that $4,500 was the ultimate number, like if someone offers that or above, I'm going to accept it, is because 3 of these did have some condition problems. We did reveal that. All of them had potential to have maybe a bumped corner or that sort of thing. They should frame beautifully. For the most part, you probably won't notice the condition issues, except on, like, there's just a little bit of a foxing spot that interferes with the gold in the corner here. This one definitely had, you can see up at the top here, water stains. So there were some things where this person, and again, because they're a paper person and a book person, they probably know who to have do the fumigation and the restoration on these, and so they can make them absolutely pristine again. But a couple of them will need a little bit of help to be that. And so for that reason, I felt really good about selling these at this price. We figured between $4,500 and $5,000 would be the offer we would accept. And the $4,500 offer came in, and I said yes. This was not actually on auction. This is the other thing about it. You have to adjust what you're doing on eBay to make sense for the piece you're selling. I figured these might take a while to sell. I thought they might have to be on the market for quite some time. And so I put them on as a fixed price with best offer available. And the best offer came in, and it was within the acceptable range. So I'm so excited for the person who got these. I'm very excited for my friend who I was helping sell these. And of course, I'm excited for me too, because we managed to sell it for enough that I got to keep a little bit of a commission, and we all ended up being very happy. Salvador Dali is one of my favorite artists. People seem to either really, really love his work, or they think that he was a charlatan because he dared to be famous and hang out at Studio 54 and make money and be commercial and successful during his lifetime. I've noticed a lot of artists seem to resent when other artists become famous during their lifetime. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but he did. These are called Knights of the Round Table, but they are actually partly to represent the 12 apostles and the crucifixion, and then some of the images are related only in Dali's very strange, surrealistic mind. So it was great fun to have these. It was really wonderful to sell them and to be able to sell them in a reasonably short period of time. And I'm just excited for everybody involved with the transaction. So that's what sold for me on eBay. Sold every item we put up, and very, very happy with the results. And that just goes to show that you can sell on eBay year-round. Don't give up the faith. Keep trying different things. Keep putting different things up there, and you will find your buyer. After all, eBay is the largest antique and vintage marketplace on Earth.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video, and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help, and we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.